Welcome back to the Travsessed podcast. We are your hosts, Kim and Aaron. We are healthcare travelers and the creators of Travsessed, and we are literally coming to you live from the road while we are heading to our next contract. We are currently in Georgia, leaving Chick-fil-A.
This is our first time ever actually doing a podcast from...
No, it's not.
Wait, it's not?
Nope, we did one heading from Sedona to Austin, Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I always feel like we've said we've wanted to do, or like we're doing a road trip, we should do a podcast, and then like we never do because we're like, I don't really want to. But okay, so I guess this will be our second time doing a podcast from the car. And if you hear some heavy panting,
it's not me.
We have Mimi LaRue is here live in the studio. She's in her little puggy palace that basically Aaron puts her bed in the middle of all of our bins and suitcases in the back of the Jeep. And that's where she hangs out.
It is going to be interesting and fun because I'm also navigating.
I know.
Kim's got the computer on her lap. Like, it's a full-on podcast studio, but it's also like sounds from the road.
Right. This is real life. Like, this is reality, right?
I'm kind of...
Just don't get distracted, okay? Like,
this should be like how we just go for drives and like do the podcast.
I need you to make sure, because we're about to merge on the highway.
I'm good.
I'm giving a play-by-play.
We're currently merging onto Interstate I-75 North.
And I need you to stay in the right lane. The's no passing.
Okay,
I don't want you to be distracted.
I'll be driving as normal. I
know,
can talk and drive at the same time.
Okay. Well, we have little mics clipped to us, so
yeah, we're good to go.
What we're doing.
Listen to Jeep roar. Let's go.
Well, and I just want to start out too by saying, so in this episode, we're going to talk about kind of where we're heading and how all of this even came about. And those I shared on Instagram, like we're heading out, Jeep is packed, we're heading out for our next adventure. We've been wanting to go here for years. And a lot of you already know exactly where we're going. If you've been following us, and like this is easy peasy. But we wanted to share kind of like how it all came to fruition, the story behind it, and kind of all the things. But I will say that we have gone back. So when we've been traveling now for 14 years. Oh wait, how long have we been traveling? 13 years.
13 years.
Going on 13 years.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a really long time. And not in the beginning, because when we first started traveling, we were like a hot mess, and we had 2 cars packed and loaded and all the things. But over the years, we really were able to whittle down our stuff and travel really lean and really minimal, which makes traveling so much easier, right? When you're not like lugging all your stuff all over the country, taking everything in and out. But over the last 2 years, I feel like we've just kind of lost that whole minimalism thing, and we're like the Clampets rolling into town with things just falling out of our Jeep because we were packed so tight.
Well, I think it becomes the point of we started to fade with travel. It was like, we'll do a contract, but this is it. Like, we're gonna travel just to get a contract, and then we'll head back and kind of we'll start our Travsessed trips and not come back, because we're just going to travel the world doing trips. And so then you're a lot more lackadaisical with what you need to bring, what you want, like what you need. And we had just thrown so many things into storage that we're like, oh, this looks like a bathroom bin, let's just bring it. But it's like 10 years of NyQuil and Pepto and all these things we don't need, which takes up a lot of space when a whole bin is full. And so I think this time we actually went at it again like we used to.
Yeah, we were like, okay, which is a whole nother podcast. We can kind of talk about things on another episode of just kind of our thoughts over for the next year thing, and kind of getting back into this lean travel mode. But yeah, I think going in with this intention. We went through everything. We're like, okay, we're not just going to throw everything in the Jeep and this and that. Like, let's actually go through and see what we need. And we were able to whittle everything back down, and we were super like decisive about like, nope, we don't need this, we don't need that. We're also moving into a furnished place, of course, that helps. But what did you say? Our Jeep can hold like 6. We usually have 6 bins.
6 bins, and then it basically gets into like I'm cutting it, bad with like I can't see out my mirrors and all this craziness. But yes, 6 bins and suitcases. 6
bins, but on top of that, the suitcases and all the miscellaneous, like the loose stuff that we have. Like we have a vacuum cleaner and like all this like loose stuff. That's what we can fit but we're jam packed in here. We were able to whittle it down to what, 4 bins?
4 bins.
4! And all of our clothes fit in a suitcase. 3 suitcases.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of us.
Well,
and we have tons of room.
I'm going to say 2 suitcases, and then we were able to put our 4-day road trip in our carry-on.
Right.
Which was really cool. And Mimi has her own puggy apartment, which is not sitting on Kim's lap, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, it feels good. I feel like, okay, we're like back in the game. Like, yeah. And we do have everything we need. We just kind of weeded out all the junk, and I think we'll be fine. Because I think, too, for us, because people ask us, like, how do you guys do it? I don't understand how you only have X amount of stuff that you take with you in one car and blah, blah, blah. You're 2 people. But I think for us, we have 2 bins that are just kitchen stuff. And no matter if it's furnished or not furnished, or it doesn't matter what we move into, that is always the bulk of the stuff that we bring that we just cannot whittle down. Like everything that we have, like those are non-negotiables because we cook everything. And then we would get somewhere and we'd be like, oh, we don't have this. Oh, we have to go buy it. Oh, they don't have this. Because even furnished places, like I feel like they always have like shitty knives, or they have one cutting board, or they have one crappy pan. And we want to be able to cook as normal, like per normal or per usual. So 2 of those are all of our kitchen stuff. And then we also brought our Ninja grill, which is big, and our air fryer, which is also big, but we cook almost every single meal in those 2 things.
Well, and we realized we were always lugging around our industrial size Vitamix as well.
Yeah.
And now we just brought our Ninja, and if it means we have to make 2 shakes, like we'll make 2.
Right. Right. We don't need 2 blenders. Like let's just take the one. So we did kind of weed through a little bit of that, but yeah, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with us, and it feels good because also it's like you get somewhere. Where were we? Oh, West Virginia. And I felt like it took us days, like to move everything in and to get set up. And we used to pride ourselves, and we would get somewhere new and we would be set up in like a couple of hours because we really didn't have that much.
Yeah.
And we just went the complete opposite. So it feels good to be back in the lean, mean Jeep traveling machine.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there was something that I wanted to say, but you got on this roll.
Oh, sorry. What did you want to say?
Just at the beginning, it was just saying like where we ended up. Like it's kind of a spoiler alert, but it's like one of those things of like, I guess it's not a spoiler alert, but it's just so crazy how it's meant to be. And like whatever you believe in, whether there's a design path for you or a higher power or whatever it is, I feel like you can kind of look at it both ways, but the door just opened up. And I also feel like it's a place that we've been wanting to go since we started traveling, and have always felt like it's a place that we wanted to live and settle down. But I feel like the timing of this one, we are in such a different place in our lives that now it will actually mean something when it comes down to like, could we settle down here? We have the resources to be able to do that. Like we're in a different stage in our lives where we're not really ping-ponging anymore. This is the final piece that we needed to see if it will be where we live. You know what I'm saying? Like there's always that,
Yeah, for sure. And which is what we're going to get into in this episode, because I think the story of how, what is it they say, like the Genesis, like, right? Isn't that
the beginning,
the creation of something? Or kind of how this came about we were just like, oh my God, like, yes, this is meant to be. This is crazy. We came back from Everest, so we'll get into like the story behind it. We were so freaking stressed out. We're like, what are we doing? Where are we going? Nothing's working out, which I think as travelers, you do feel like that sometimes, like, well, a lot of the time when you're in this interim phase of like, you haven't found your contract yet, but you're looking and you're wanting to lock something in because then you know the next steps, and you go through that phase. You're just like, you feel kind of overwhelmed and things feel chaotic, and you're getting submitted for all of these jobs. It's like this constant thing you're always thinking about, but then it's like within an hour everything changes. Like, then it goes so fast, and you're like, okay, I interviewed, now I know where I'm going, I got the offer, now I'm packing my car, now I'm going to get a drug test, and things just go so fast. And that's exactly what happened to us. Is like, we had a couple of days of feeling like super stressed out, super overwhelmed, chaotic, just like in this like just crazy place. And then everything just clicked into gear, and it was absolutely perfect. And now we're off.
But there's also like the level of when we're both trying to find a contract. Like, honestly, we haven't done that in a long time. I've just always been like, what's a good contract? I'm going to take it. Kim stays home, blah, blah, blah. And so we really went into this one of like, could we find one together? And that just became nuts, because we'd find one together. I would have an interview, but then Kim's job closed, or it would be high risk OB, or whatever it was. Like, it wouldn't work, or it was extremely low paying for her, but like good for me. And so I didn't want to go through the process of interviewing and liking it, and then like we end up in a place that I didn't really want to go based off of like Kim's potential job. And so it's like that added so much stress into the mix.
Yeah, it's definitely more tricky, at least for us. I know it can be easier with like, I feel like it's you hear like nurses always get jobs together, like partners that are nurses, like on the same floor in the same job, or even like PTs. Like, for us, it can be a little bit more complicated, because I would say it's very rare that we have found a job for both of us. Like, it's in the same hospital, it's in the same.
Once.
Well, yeah, Oroville.
Yeah.
And then again, there was this. Let me rewind, because I don't want to like kind of go all over the place, but we both are looking for a job, and if you guys watch our Instagram story, Aaron is famous for his spreadsheets. Mm-hmm. So he does all the spreadsheets for Travsessed Adventures. Like, they're so detailed, they're so organized. So he created a spreadsheet that basically had the ultrasound jobs, the IR jobs, and their location, what the pay was, all of it. So, because it can be very overwhelming when you're trying to say, when they're not in the same hospital, or even this, like, but you're like, okay, or even the same city, but you're like, this is close to this is only a 20-minute drive. Okay, this is a 30-minute drive. Is this commutable? And you're trying to like piece together jobs that could actually work. Mm-hmm. But that takes a lot of time and effort, because we had to go through each one and like get on Google Maps and be like, how far is this from here, and how far, and so you made one of your spreadsheets, and we sat down and we just went through each one. And there was a lot of, because again, IR, they just, right now their bill rates are higher too. You're just making more money than me.
Well, I will just interject right there, keep your thought, but it's also the fact that there's not enough IR techs for IR jobs.
Yeah.
So basically anything I put interest into, I'm getting a call. Like, when it comes down to like the contracts, right? Like
100%.
It's not like how Kim could like put in, but there's already 7 people in for it, right? Like, mine is like...
Ultrasound's flooded right now. And here's the other thing, to back up even a little bit more, but you also have an incredible resume. Yeah. You've been working nonstop. And so you're a shoo-in. Like, if you want a job and it's a direct contract, which means like our recruiter can get you in for an interview, exclusive contract, like you're getting the job, right? For me, it's a little different, because I haven't actually taken a travel contract in 2 years. I've worked PRN a little bit, but I haven't taken a travel job because I've been working full-time in Travsessed. And so that dynamic has worked really well for us. But now we're in this mode of like, okay, we both want to work because we make so much money, and like, let's bang out a couple contracts of us working together, like in between trips. And so because I haven't worked in 2 years as a traveler, I have this huge gap on my work history, and that is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's normal to have gaps in your resume. Obviously, we're travelers, right? So people take 3 months off, or they take, whatever. But 2 years is a huge gap. And so the other issue that I'm experiencing is that I'm kind of in a position that I have to take what I can get. It's almost like being a new traveler.
You're brand new. Yeah.
Because it's like, for instance, as an example, okay, there was a job for Aaron in Portland, Maine, which we'll get into because that was a huge part of our story. And there was a job for me that was like a 25-minute drive. I'm like, perfect, like that could work. And so I was put in for it, but they came back and rejected basically my application, saying that because due to her gap in her work history, where we have, other candidates that have no gaps.
Yep.
And so I was even kicked out of that opportunity because of my history. But then the recruiter said that they could put me in and I could take the night position because that's less desirable, and they don't have as many people. So I was kind of like, all right, and our recruiters have said, like, if you don't get something back on your resume, you are gonna have a hard time locking in somewhere because ultrasound's already flooded. And when you have other candidates that don't have that, it doesn't matter. I've been a sonographer for 18 years and I'm good at what I do, and I'm a great tech and a great traveler. Like, none of that matters because they're simply looking at a resume and they're comparing it with the other person's resume, and they don't know any of us. So they're just kind of like, no, throw her out. Why would we go with her when we can choose one of these other candidates who just worked at this contract?
Right.
And so that was kind of like, all right, so I have to get something back on me. I have to work, in order to continue, right? Because I used to be like you, where I had such a great resume and I was such a great candidate that I could be put in for anything and I know I would get the job.
Yep.
So that kind of put things in perspective too, where I'm like, okay, I'm probably going to have to take one of like a night position or something undesirable, just to kind of get my feet back in the door. And then after that,
You're
we'll
back
be good
on
to
track.
go.
Yeah, totally.
But there was also a job for both of us at the same hospital, which again is rare. So it's kind of like, ooh, like you want to jump on things like that. But for me, it was an overnight position. And I'm like, damn, and it was low paying too.
It was low for both of us. So it's like,
it had to be worth it.
Like, that's a thing. I mean, we're still just like not just going back into, we're just travelers right out of school. Like, let's just like try to travel for the first time. Like, I'll take whatever I get. Like, we're still very picky about, I don't want to, for low bill rate, go to where I'm working all week long and Kim's working all week overnights, and like we never see each other. We can't do anything we need to do for Travsessed. Like, it's just not worth it.
It's not. Like, yeah, 100%. Not for that
unless
kind of money.
Unless it's like $1 million.
Unless it's like a high paying contract, and even that would have to be like, that would have to make sense.
Right.
Because again, yes, we are travelers, but we are also running Travsessed, and that takes a lot of time. So our situation's a little bit different, but that's kind of where we're at. We both know we want to work, and we kind of told our recruiters, like, we're willing to go. We're open to the location. It's more about if there was something we could lock in together. Mm-hmm. That made sense.
Totally.
We're willing.
That's also jumping ahead a little bit, because we didn't come to that realization until we were coming home from Nepal. Because I was the only one, like, going after interviews while in Nepal. Right.
Yeah, that's true. So that's kind of catching up with all the things and like where we are. So we're both wanting to work, and that we also were on a time crunch because we have Travsessed New Zealand and Travsessed Bali that are already booked, right? So we also only have a certain 4 months before we have to go again.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you,
can you get over?
Yes, because my start date was pushed back due to my facility's orientation schedule. I'm literally ending on the last day that I could possibly end.
I know. So that was the other thing. We're like, we gotta lock something in because like TikTok, right? Things are like we're running out of time.
We have a flight booked on the 10th
of May.
Of March.
Of March. So we're like, okay. All right. So the journey begins in Nepal.
Yeah. So basically in Nepal, we realized, you know what, like even before we left for Nepal, because we came home for 6 days in between Greece and Nepal, we ran Travsessed Portland, Maine, which was our first day trip, and then we were like, okay, like let's see if we can land a contract before we leave for Nepal for a November 8th or whatever start date. Like that'll be perfect. Give us time to get settled and then just head to our contract. And so that started getting really chaotic with us trying to leave and plan for this trip and then just have like all the trip stuff. And so we're also flying across the world, and all of a sudden the things that I had put in for, everybody wanted to schedule interviews for the day that we were flying. And I'm like, that's just not going to work. And now I'm 13 hours ahead, 12 hours ahead, trying to plan that and figure that out. And then nobody would like plan an interview with me. They were like, we'll just call. And I'm like, well, it's not going to work that way. Like, I'm in another country. So it became chaotic. Yeah,
because, right, you're not just like in another country. You're running and hosting a trip, and you're hiking to Everest Base Camp. You're on a trail. Even though one of the girls on our trip, she took on Everest Trail, Base Camp Trail, she took an interview for her new travel job, but she was able to schedule the time.
That was it.
Which was awesome, because she was like, okay, at 6:30, like we knew we're done hiking, at that time. So she was like, okay, after dinner, I need to go back to my room and take this interview, which was amazing because it was scheduled, but you weren't able to do that.
No.
It's hit or miss if the hospital is even willing to do that.
Right.
So there was, before we left for Nepal, there was a job.
Well, I wanted to back up a little bit.
Go ahead.
So, basically, I made the realization of like, again.
Oh my God.
What?
I feel
good. I'm glad you guys are on the microphone with this because nothing happened. I went over a bump on a bridge.
It felt like the tires popped.
Okay. But I just kind of came down to the realization of just like, we have plenty of time when we get home. We'll figure this out. It's really hard trying to run the trip and enjoy the trip and do an interview and try to schedule it and make sure the group's okay. It just wasn't working. So
okay, but before we left for Nepal, there was a job at Mayo in Jacksonville, which would have been perfect because there's never jobs like that around, like us, like in our hometown, travel jobs. And so we're like, oh my gosh, that would be awesome. And then we could just stay here like during the holidays, be closer to our families, and like it just seemed easy. It seemed like an easy fit. We were thinking maybe we would get a year lease, so then we could at least have a place like to come back to. Obviously like our own, like we always have our place that we can go back to, but I'm talking about like actually like having our own apartment, our own space, whatever, in between trips, and even if we wanted to take a contract and come back, but we just had our place. So we thought, well, maybe that would work, and it felt like one of those things that was going to work out, because we knew that if Aaron got the interview, he was going to get the job, because that's always what happens. And so before we even went to Nepal, you were trying to do this interview, but the timing never worked. Like you could never talk to them.
Well, the timing never worked. And then when I actually did get in touch with them, they said, our systems are down and we're not going to be able to like schedule an interview for a week or so.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, perfect. Well, that puts me back when I get home. And so there was also a job at the same time and in Denver at the University of Colorado in Aurora. And I was reading about that, and then my recruiter was telling me that she just had a traveler leave there, and she was telling me all about it, and then the bill rate was borderline. I wouldn't say it was low, but it
wasn't great.
It was low for what I'm getting paid now.
Well, and also it was a crazy hospital, busy, stroke center, all of the things. And the bill rate wasn't that great, where you were like, there's so many jobs out there for IR right now specifically that have such high bill rates. Like, you know what I mean? If like, again, we're trying to like go and like make money right now, you know? So anyways, so that was on the table.
Well, I feel like that's a very important part of this story as well, because of the fact that it was in Denver, right? And so like, that's a place that we've always wanted to go. And it was just like, it just didn't feel right.
Just didn't feel right. Yeah, 100%. And so we were like, I don't know. You didn't even want to interview for that one. You were just like, no. And then, so that we're still in Nepal, and they said that Mayo said that they were going to call. They never did again. And then they came back and said, okay, we're going to call next week. We'll set up an interview when we get home. And so we were like, great. And the reason why we're like, this job has been open for weeks. Like, what's actually happening right now? Mm-hmm. This should have been closed. Like, we're talking 3 weeks at this point.
And an extremely high bill rate.
Yeah.
Especially for Florida.
Yeah.
And even high in reference to what's coming out. Like, It was in the middle highs.
Yeah. But come to find out, because it was Mayo, so everything has to go through Minnesota. And so there was just like a lot of like their back end issues of why it hadn't been filled yet. So we're like, okay, cool. So, and I think in the back of our minds, we kept thinking like that was going to work out. Like that, I almost felt like it was a done deal, which is so crazy now to look back in hindsight. But like, that's what I really thought. Mm-hmm. And then, so we're in Nepal. I'm passed out sleeping. I have no clue what's happening. And then Aaron ends up doing an interview with a hospital in Portland, Maine.
Which I found out about on the trail and was like, holy crap, dude, there's a job in Portland, and the bill rate was through the roof. Mm-hmm. Like, I was like,
highest I've seen, like, yeah.
Holy crap, dude, this is insane. And so we went back and forth, but then they actually scheduled an interview with me. So I knew what day they were going to call.
No, they didn't. Yes, you said they called you at like midnight, and I was sleeping. You didn't know they were calling.
100%.
No, you didn't.
Okay, babe. We had set up that we were going to call that day, and that my recruiter sent to their person that I would be calling on this day after 6:45 my time, which was 9 a.m. their
but
time. They
They
never verified it.
Okay, well, yeah, because you said that they called you, it was like 11:30, 12 at night. I was sleeping. This is Nepal time, because again, we're 13 hours ahead, so they called you during their afternoon. Yeah. And that you randomly went out and took the interview. Like, there was no schedule. I had no idea they were calling you. Like, you didn't know. Like, they just called you.
Right, I didn't know. I mean, there was a very good chance I went to bed without the interview. But yes, it was set up that I would be calling that day, and I had left 3 messages.
Right, yeah, you kind of moved on, because like you had tried to call them, they never called, and they called you late that night. Uh-huh. So, anyways, I didn't know any of this was going on. The next morning, we were like chatting, and he tells me like, I took an interview, and I'm like, what? And from that moment, you were just like, it just doesn't feel right. It's like a really, 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 really busy hospital, huge stroke center. There's 35 travelers there. The call, this, like, it just felt like it was a big to-do. Mm-hmm. Huge bill rate.
Which was interesting, because it was like, well, we're in this to make money. Right now, Kim is not talking about getting a contract. So, like, that was enough that it would be both of our contracts right there. Like, back in the day, I'd say pre-COVID, 2 contracts. Yeah. But like, should I just take it and bite the bullet? You know, but something in my gut was like, number 1, this doesn't feel right. Number 2, I'm not making a move until I hear from Jacksonville.
Right. And so we were still hooked into this Mayo thing. And so you didn't want to like take the job, and then Mayo calls, right? So we still thought that was on the table, and then we like went back and forth. Also, it's like Maine in the winter, and I would love to go to Portland in the summer. But again, you know, we always talk about this as like trusting your gut, because you don't always have to know why you feel a certain way about something, because you know, it's a great bill rate. I mean, it's a close drive to Florida. It's Portland, it's Maine, like, you know, but
I mean, it's not a close drive.
Well, compared to where we're going.
Yeah,
I
true.
mean, it's one sleep, right? I always do it in like sleeps. Like, how many sleeps is it going to take to get there?
That
like,
might have been 2.
Okay. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
the point is that we didn't talk about the interview, and you were just like, yeah, it might be kind of crazy, but like, I feel good about it. I had a good conversation. I have a good vibe about it. Like, I know we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. But like, it felt right, like, cause there's a lot of times we'll take an interview and you're kind of like, I don't know. I think it might be kind of crazy, or it's more call than I like, but it still feels okay. From the beginning, you were just like, I don't know. There's just something about it that doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know. And so you tell our recruiter, I'm going to wait for Florida. Like, sorry, like, let's just pass on Maine for now, because they extended the offer.
Yeah.
So it's a done deal. And then he was like, let's just wait for Mayo, because I don't want to miss out on that. We're heading home in a couple of days. I'll do the interview. We can go from there. So then we get home, and our recruiter was like, oh, Mayo's going to call you on this day, whatever. Mm-hmm. Then she calls us and says, the Mayo positions have been filled.
On Friday.
And we were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
Right.
So then we went back and forth, and we were at the point now where we're like, okay, we just need to lock something in. Like, should we just do the main thing? Oh, that was the other thing. Then we realized that we both want to work. That was important. We made that decision. And we're going to do whatever it takes for that to happen. And so we started looking, and there was a couple of jobs around Portland that would work for me too. So that's where we're like, okay, you know what? Screw it. Let's go.
Don't you remember I got on and I was like, hey, if they haven't selected somebody, I'm still interested. Just, now that Jacksonville's off the table, like, have they filled that spot yet? If not, I'm interested. Which started a whole new can of worms.
Yeah. So Jessica, our recruiter at Aya, who we love, she was like, okay, you had 24 hours to respond. You said no. Let me see what I can do. If you're still interested, let me reach out. Let me see what I can do.
So I reached out to the manager that I had spoken with, because I had her direct email.
Yeah. Oh, right. I forgot about that. You emailed her.
Mm-hmm.
So basically they had to do all these things behind the scenes to try to get Aaron the offer again. And then our recruiter came back and was like, we can get you the offer again, but you have to accept it. Like 100%. And she's like, are you 100%? Because we've kind of jumped through hoops to get this offer again. And, we missed
hold on. I know. Keep going. I'll just say it. So with the 100%, like...
Can you get over here, please?
They said that they're very strict. Babe, can you just please let me drive to where I feel comfortable?
We're in the middle of
because I'm doing 2 things at once here, and I am comfortable in the position I'm in. So just please let me drive.
I feel
I'm perfectly
more
fine.
Here.
Well, good for you. You're not the one driving.
I know, but I'm co-piloting. And
no, you're not.
I feel more
You're
relaxed
co-piloting.
Here. Okay. Enough.
So basically, I was like, cool, send me the information. I'm in. This looks good. There's so much potential for Kim around there that we can land something for her. If I just take this, then we know we're moving forward. It pinpoints the location that she'll find a contract. So now again, we told you that this was one of the highest bill rates I've ever seen before. They had 4 travelers that they just hired. They needed a 5th, so they opened up this position, got it approved, which I knew during the interview they were going to do, and now they were offering me that 5th position.
Yeah. Right.
That being said, I'll just say it. The weekly pay was $4,100 a week for this job. Gross.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, holy shitballs. Like,
yeah.
That's insane. So then...
Wait, because we skipped a whole thing too.
It depends on what you're going to say, because I think I'm about to say it.
I was going to go back to Tokyo.
Okay. Sure.
So after Everest, we were in Tokyo. And we went for a couple of days with our friends, and you were still kind of looking around at like different jobs, whatever. And this was before we went back to Maine, because that was when we went home. We got the spreadsheet. That's when we talked to Jessica. So even before that, we were still kind of like, okay, just check. Okay, so the computer died. We're not sure why.
No, because I had it plugged into the charging thing, so I have no idea.
So we had to reset this into now I have it on the phone. So
Yeah,
we're
it'll
back.
sound different.
I don't know exactly where it turned off. I think it was when I was getting into Tokyo.
Yeah, let's just tell Tokyo.
Okay, I hope we got whatever, but I was going back a little bit before we even got home and revisited the whole main thing. When we were in Tokyo, because we went to Tokyo for a couple of days after Everest, we were kind of looking around at jobs, whatever, and there was a job in Wheatville. Was that
Wheatville. Yeah.
Wheatville? And so we were with our friends Adam and Aaron, and they were like, which they have also worked in Denver, and they're like, Wheatville is basically where we all stayed in an Airbnb together. It was like outside of Denver. They're like, that's basically where it is. So we're like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I remember we were kind of like going back and forth then because like the bill rate wasn't great, and that is the thing with Colorado is that their bill rates are never that great.
Why?
Because everybody wants to freaking go to Colorado,
Exactly.
right? Like, and it's expensive there. So that it just kind of like that's kind of the trend with Colorado. I mean, again, like you can go to Podunk, Illinois, and make a shit ton of money because nobody wants to go there, so they're trying to entice people to come. So Colorado pay tends to be lower. And so I remember even talking to Aaron and Adam, and they're like, we're like leaving, and they're like, should we put it out there? You guys get Wheatville? Like, I don't know. And we were both just kind of like, I don't know. Like, again, it's crazy that that's the location we've always wanted to be in. We've been wanting to get to the Denver area for years, but there was two opportunities, but neither one of them felt
right. Yeah,
right.
Totally.
Okay, so then fast forward, so then we come home, the whole Maine thing.
Well, I will say too, because remember Maine happened because I got the email on a Friday. We were traveling, and then the hospitals were closed because it's the weekend. And then we get to our hotel in Orlando Sunday night. I wake up Monday morning, and the first thing I did was send that email to the main thing because we had found out and we had that whole time to go home to talk about it, and basically started this whole thing Monday morning, just hitting it.
Yeah. So you get the offer again from Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we were both like, all right, like, I guess this is the move. And then at this point, that's where I was rejected from that job.
Mm-hmm.
So I was disappointed at that. And then I was like, but there will be something that will pop up for me. And we put in for like a Providence job because we kind of, like I said, we looked at the spreadsheet and we looked at all these different areas of where we could be put in that would be close to each other. And so at this point, we are kind of putting in for a bunch of different stuff.
But you also missed the whole thing. We were sitting with my mom in Orlando after like going to lunch, and I said for my recruiter Jessica to send me the information. And remember, like back, I was saying that it was a very high bill rate. It was 41 gross. They come back, and I'm looking at the pay package, and I'm like,
I was getting there.
There's an absolute mistake, but this was like in Orlando. So you're talking spreadsheet was Airbnb in St. Augustine.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically I see that they're offering me a gross of $3,000. And I was like, it was on the website and on the app that it was a 4,100 gross. Why am I now getting a 3,000 gross? Like, is that a mistake? And so my recruiter was like, well, let me check into that. That's weird, blah, blah, blah. So they said, oh, they gave that bill rate to the other 4 travelers, but now for the 5th traveler, they've lowered the bill rate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just on principle alone, no.
Yeah.
Like, I would go and do the same job with 4 other travelers making $1,000 less a week. Number one, that's crazy that they would even do that. And number two, I wonder how many times that's happened to other people.
Yeah.
To where travelers are making 4,100 gross, and then you get the job at 3,000 because they changed it.
Yeah, which is so messed up because it's like, okay, no, but then it made it this clear no. It's like the main thing didn't feel right, but then we kind of like other things weren't working out, and we were like, well, maybe it is. I don't know. And then like you accept it, and then the pay's not right, and we're like, absolutely not. We're talking about $1,000 a week. No. So then you decline the offer again.
Yep.
And then we kind of start looking again, and again, this we're condensing all of this into like it was a couple of days, um, and then the Parker job popped up.
Well, and that's when we had the spreadsheet, and I literally was looking at the spreadsheet, and I was like putting all the states in and putting all the cities in, and I get to Colorado, and it was like that one job, and then Wheatville was there, the University of Colorado was there, and then Parker, and I'm like, where is Parker? And so I just happened to go on Google Maps, looked it up, and I'm like, holy crap, dude! It's near a city that I kind of wanted. Centennial's over there, and I read that that's like a booming, up and coming area outside of Denver. It's like 40 minutes into downtown Denver, near Boulder, just like in the central location of like where we'd want to be. And I was like, and it was an exclusive contract, and it was the highest bill rate I've ever seen for Denver.
Yes, high bill rate and a smaller hospital, because that's the other thing with the Denver area is that it's a lot of like big hospitals and like stroke centers and stuff. And so that was your thing, is you're like, I can obviously do it, that you've worked in a lot of places like that, but you're like, the mode and when I'm in right now is like, I'd love to find something smaller. I'd love to find something that's just body IR. I don't want to have to take a bunch of call and stroke call and all of this. Like, I'd love to find something that's a little bit easier, because that's what you had in West Virginia. And it was so nice because it really gave you more time, and the job itself was easy. So then you were coming home every day absolutely exhausted, so like you could come home and we could work on things for Travsessed, and you're like, that's like what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Denver area, that was just, those weren't options, that
Right.
wasn't coming up. So the fact that this hospital in Parker was a smaller hospital, it was only body IR, and it was a good bill rate.
Yep.
We were like, okay.
So now we're like moving forward on Parker. Kim's like, I just have a good feeling about this. I think something will work out for me, even though there wasn't any contracts around there.
That was the thing.
But the
yeah.
Denver area always pops up contracts. We're already there. And Kim can later explain after I finish my point that there's a connection in Boulder as well that we've always had for a very long time. And so the crazy thing about this is we're sitting here talking about this. Now I am like gung ho on Parker. I just feel like I haven't even had the interview yet, but just it feels right. It fits all the mold that I wanted. So then so now we're dealing with club staffing, right? Club staffing is the one that had the exclusive, but Aya was the one that had the Portland, Maine one. And so I've been working with Aya the whole time. We basically asked our club staffing person to just give us all the jobs. I find the exclusive contract in Parker with them. So then now I'm going full board towards that. We get a message from Jessica and Aya that said Portland, Maine has renegotiated with their higher ups.
No. You completely, no. She said this, that wasn't a done deal until after you had already interviewed with Parker and knew you wanted the job. She said, I'm trying to get Portland, Maine to come back up to the original rate that they had offered you and the other travelers. It wasn't a done deal yet. And we were kind of like, okay, whatever. But then you interviewed with Parker. It wasn't a done deal until after the interview.
Right, that's what I was saying. I hadn't interviewed with Parker. Kim and I had kind of made the decision about the fact that like I feel like we should pursue Parker. I think Portland's done.
Well, Portland was done. That's what I'm saying, is that we'd already said no, we'd already moved on. And then Parker came back, or then you decided you wanted to interview with Parker, and our recruiter then texted us and said, hey, I just want you guys to know I'm working behind the scenes to try to get this Maine contract, the rate back up. So I just want you to know I'm trying to work on this. And we were kind of like, okay, whatever. I thought we were done with this.
Right. So then it kind of brought it back to the surface again of like, holy crap, dude, I thought I was like done with that. So now we're moving on, and it was election day. I'll never forget that, because our recruiter was like, I don't know, people are out voting and stuff like that, so they might not call you. I kept my phone on me, go to sleep that night, early. Kim and I were going to bed at like 7 at night. And so, cause we were still on Nepal time, and it literally like, I woke up the next morning, I get an alert on my phone and a voicemail from Parker, Colorado, that they had called 2 p.m. the day before. So my phone, I guess thinking it was a spam call, sent it directly to voicemail, and then I did not get the alert until the next morning. So now I'm in complete freak out mode.
Yeah, because we're like, oh my God, you missed the call. And as we know for travelers, like, you don't want to miss that call because you want to get them on the phone, have the interview, lock in the job. If you don't answer your phone, they're going to move on to somebody else and they like that person. Now that person's locking in the job.
Yep.
So missing that call, we were both so upset.
Yeah, totally.
And then so we called our recruiter and told her like, oh my gosh, they had called, we missed it. And she's like, let me put some feelers out with the account manager because you tried to call her back right away and she didn't answer. You went to a voicemail. Then we called a recruiter. She's like, they had other candidates. So like, this happens like obviously, but like, I hope that they didn't just offer it to somebody else or have another interview. And so we were both like, dang, man, like so disappointing. And we believe like everything happens for a reason. So we were like, I don't know why, if it doesn't work out, I guess it just doesn't work out. But we're still disappointed. So then our recruiter was like, I'm trying to like have her call you back, like they do all the things behind the scenes, the account managers and stuff. And you tried to call him twice.
Mm-hmm.
You even called the department.
Yeah.
and asked for her. So you and I go out to lunch.
Yep.
We're like, let's just go have a lunch. Like, we got to get out. Like, we're literally going fucking crazy. Like, we've been stressed out for days. Where are we going? What are we doing? There's so much back and forth, all the things. Let's just go have a lunch. So we go to one of our spots. We order. Literally, the food comes and Parker, Colorado calls.
Yep.
And we were like, oh my God, it's go time. So you run outside
mm-hmm.
and take the interview in the parking lot at the restaurant. And I'm sitting there by myself. I'm like, I'll wait for him. He was gone for 45 minutes, which I was like, that's a really long interview. Interviews are like 10 minutes. Like, mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh my God, is it one of these like HR interviews? And he's like, they're asking him all these questions. Like, what is going on? And then you can kind of take over from there.
So basically we get on the phone, start talking, and it was like one of those instantaneous connections. It was just like, wow, like this is just a really good conversation. She explained everything about the department, everything they were looking for. I asked my questions. Then we start talking about Colorado in general and how Kim and I have always wanted to get out there. And she starts telling me about the town and how dog friendly it is. And then I'm like, yeah, that's really cool because we travel with our dog and we have a 15-year-old pug. And she was like, did you say pug? And I was like, yes, ma'am. And she was like, I have 4 of them. And I was like, you have 4 pugs? Like, pug people are like boat people.
Yeah.
And like motorcycle people. Like,
they're good people.
Once you have a pug, it's like you're an instantaneous like connection.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh my God, you're a pug person? Like, you get it. And so we end up just talking about that. And then on the interview, she's like, okay, so you're my person. So I'm getting off the phone. I'm calling right now. The job is yours. Can't wait to see you. Like, it's done.
And also, because like you come in, which is so bad, because you come in, you're like, yeah, that ain't gonna work, like that. And I was like, wait, really? Like I was shocked because I'm sitting there, I ate by myself, and I was just thinking like, hey, what's going on? What's taking so long? But I just had this feeling it was gonna work out. So you came in, you're like, we're not going. I was like, what? And then you're like, oh no, that was like this is my dream job. Like, if I'm going to be an IR or take a contract, like, this is my dream contract. Like, it's only IR. There's no neuro, which is so amazing. There's only 4 other techs. It's a smaller hospital, not a lot of call, not a lot of crazy. And she even said, we're like, we live in a lifestyle state. And so we really believe here in like work-life balance and, not so being able to have time and have space. You do 4 10s, you have an extra day off. Like, so just the job and the vibe of it was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No, that's what I think you said it, but I just thought it was cool. She said not only does the hospital believe in a work-life balance of being like in a lifestyle state, being able to get out and go for hikes or go do all the adventures that Colorado holds, but also the doctors believe that as well because they're very active and they like to be out and about and they don't want to like take their staff away from that. So yes, there's emergencies. Yes, we have to cover it, but they're not frivolous call commenters just to like be at work. How you all, especially in radiology, know those types where they don't want to be home, they don't have anything else to do, so they might as well just come in and do cases, and then you're there all day.
Yeah. So it sounds like a dream,
Mm-hmm.
especially for where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the bill rate was good. The location obviously is our dream location. We've been wanting to get to Colorado for years. It's just like the timing has never worked out for us. And then the interview, like the vibe of the place and the job itself, right? Because even if like it was like, okay, a good bill rate and it was, you know, the Denver area, but then you during the interview you're like, it's gonna be crazy and it's strokes and I have to take all this call and it's like blah, but like it still would have been like, oh really?
Yeah.
But you were just like, this sounds perfect for me right now.
Yep.
And so then you accept the job,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hell yeah, let's fucking go. And then we get an email, or not an email, they break down the contract, right? They send the offer. And the offer had it at a 36-hour work week.
40. The offer had it at 40, but when I was on the interview, she said,
right.
This is a 36-hour job. You're going to work 4 nines.
Right. So we were like, okay, that's like a huge pay cut, you know? What is that going to end up being?
Right.
And so now we're telling our recruiter, like, is this a glitch, or not a glitch, a typo? Like, what is this 40 hours? Is it not? Is it whatever? And so now they have to go try to figure that out, right? Like, is it not? Now, what's the pay package if it is 36 hours? Like, all the things. Now you've accepted this job. You're so excited about it. The contract was not the same as what we thought. So now there's a big question mark there. And all that's going on. And then Jessica, our IA recruiter, says, hey guys, good news. I got Maine to come back up to that original pay. Do you want to accept?
Yep.
And we're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, what is actually happening right now?
Right. So now I'm like sitting there like, Parker's my dream contract outside of like what West Virginia was. But we're also in Parker, Colorado, a place that we've always wanted to be. And the bill rate is good, but now there's a mistake, so I don't know who's right. Was it my manager's mistake or was it... And I will just back in that. She said it's a 4-9 position, but then she said my hours, and I had just heard her say 4 9s, and so I just kind of had that in my head. But then I swear she said 7 to 5:30, which then I'm thinking, well, that's 10 hours.
Yeah.
But like, did I mishear that? And like, what's going on? So now it's like, so then it comes back, okay, the 4,100 gross or the possible cut of a 36-hour, but now I want Parker. I don't want to go to Portland.
We're invested.
Yeah.
So, and we had to give an answer right away to Jessica.
Yep.
And again, I'll preface you to know that this was all done very like openly, candidly. Like Jessica knew we were pursuing other jobs, right?
Yep.
Like because of the whole Maine debacle, like Aaron accepted the job, but then the contract, the money fell out. So like we said, once that happened, like we're pursuing other leads. So she knew that we were looking at other jobs, with club staffing with her. Like, so she was very much aware of that, and she's awesome. But we had to make a decision. Like, do you guys want it or not? I got it back up. It's yours if you want it. But we have to know right now. So we sat down and we really went over it again. And at the end of the day, all we can do is listen to our guts. And I said, like, I feel like when you follow joy, you're never led in the wrong direction, right? So like, and you even said, I feel if I take Maine, I'm selling my soul for the devil, for money, right? And I'm like, okay, well, that says it all, right? Like when we think of Parker, we think like it felt happy and joyful and open and exciting and fun, and the job itself felt peaceful and easy and gentle and just like good vibes, like feels like light filled and like sunshine. And then Maine, like it just felt like gloom and doom and chaos. And so we're like,
And
and
a lot of money.
right. So at this point, we didn't know if the whole Colorado thing, like what that contract was going to end up coming, but we just knew we had to trust our gut and just completely say no to Maine. Like, thanks for doing that, but like the answer is just no, 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 no. And so Jessica's like, yep, I totally understand. Like, no worries. I'll let them know. We'll put this to bed. And then, anyways, long story short, Parker came back and did say, like, yes, it is 40 hours. So nothing changed there. So we were like, okay, perfect. We made the right decision, even though we already knew we did. So we locked this shit in.
And we're off.
And we are currently on our way, driving to Parker. And like you were saying earlier, in this moment, there's not any jobs for me, but I feel like this is where we're supposed to be, and I feel like something will come up. And so we have two friends who have worked at the hospital in Boulder, Colorado. And they both were like, it's the best team, the best job ever. And a couple of years ago, this was I think 2 years ago.
Yeah, after our first trip to Peru.
Was it the first one? Okay. So, yeah, I don't know. It was like 2 years ago, but we were going to go to, they put me in touch with the lead of ultrasound. And so we were speaking via email. Okay, Mimi, no, now's not the time. Mommy and Daddy are working. Mimi's trying to come up here and cuddle. So we'd been talking, and basically I had a travel job there. And again, we've always wanted to go to this area. We're like, this is amazing. This would be perfect. And the job itself seems perfect for me, right? It's a smaller hospital. And it just seemed like a good fit for where we're at. But the issue was, Aaron didn't have a job, and it was low pay. And so, again, we were like wanting to make money. We're like, oh, does that really make sense? Like, yes, we're going to that area, but with Aaron not working, like we're barely going to survive with this, and in a very expensive area. So the timing just didn't work out that time. We decided to go to Bali. We're like, fuck this, let's go to Bali. And so that didn't work out, but I've always stayed in contact with her. So I had this direct with the lead, and I emailed her, and then my friend Brooke texted her and said, hey, like, do you guys need any travelers? My friend Kim's looking, blah, 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 blah. And then I emailed her, and so she just got back to me and said that she has 2 travelers right now, and if they do not extend, which they may not, then yes, they will, or she will need a traveler. So she was going to find that out and then get back to me. So I just have a feeling like it's going to work out, and that we'll both be there. I'll be in Boulder and you'll be at your place. And like, I don't know. I just have a feeling, but we'll see. I keep checking the email to see like if she's gotten back to me, but
I know, because TikTok.
Well, so that's the other thing, right?
You got to start on December 2nd for a full 13 weeks.
Yeah. So that was the other part. But then, so say that doesn't work out right this second, right? I have a feeling we're going to keep coming back to this area. Like, it's just one of those feelings I have. Your manager said that there's 5 different hospital systems, and that she's going to put feelers out to see if there's ultrasound needs, but if anything, that I could work PRN there.
Yep.
And so I want a contract because I want travel pay, but I will at least be able to do that so that I can have something on my resume again, so I don't have this huge gap, and to get my feedback wet in like the ultrasound world. So either way, I know something is going to work out.
Totally. It just feels too good. And again, like, following that gut and staying in that, and like you said, when you follow joy, things work out. And like, I just feel, I can tell you, out of all the contracts we've done, besides the San Fran one, because that was like our 3rd contract ever, and it was really cool to be going to San Fran, this one feels the most exciting.
Yeah. I feel, because we've been traveling, like I said, 12, 13 years, going on 13 years, like, and we have, other things that we're doing, right? And like Travsessed and all this. So it's like, I almost feel like the last couple of years I've lost that kind of like excitement for travel. How we used to feel in the very beginning when we would like road trip to San Fran or when we went up to Seattle, like whatever, like there was like that excitement of like, we're on the road, the Jeep is packed, it's travel time, we're going to take a contract in a new location. And like, I already have my notes in my phone of Colorado of like hikes and all these different things that we want to do. And like, it feels exciting. Like, I almost feel like I have that newbie traveler excitement that I haven't felt in a long time.
And I will say, for all of you thinking out there, I know you're thinking it. We are fully aware that we are going to Denver November through March.
Yeah.
And what time that is. And I will say, I am freaking pumped.
Yeah.
Like, I want to, like, of course, will you like Denver during the summer, spring, and fall?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Will you like it during the winter? I don't know, but I get to experience it now with no freaking connection. It's not like I moved in there.
Yeah.
So, like, we get to do it as travelers, which is something that's really crazy as well. As Kim has said, for the last 2 years running, if we could just find a good contract in Denver, that would get us out there. I feel that if somebody else is paying for us to go out there, we get to live there for 3 months. At the end of that 3 months, we will know 100% if it is where we want to live, and I don't think we'll ever leave.
Yeah.
And you've said that so many times when not even getting a contract was on the.
Yeah.
We were saying, let's just get a contract in Denver just to move to Denver.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't even want a contract.
Right. I feel like that's what I love about travel is that it allows you to really experience a place fully. And you can get a sense of if it's somewhere you would want to stay or not. And I think that's such a cool part of what we get to do is like, we get to go to Denver and experience it. And like, we're going to winter. Like we're in Georgia right now. It is sunny. It is 75. Like they just got hit with the craziest damn snowstorm. Like it was like insane, right? So we're going into the heart of a winter experience, but we get to fully experience that because like what you said, we know we're going to love summer, we know we're going to love everything else, so let's see how we really feel about winter in Colorado. Do we love it, or can we check that box of like, you know what, this like isn't for me? And I feel like we got to do that. We thought for sure San Diego, this was years and years and years ago, but before we got on the Colorado kick, but we thought San Diego was going to be our forever home. We had never been, and we were like, it's got mountains, which we love. It has beach. It has city. It felt like it had everything we loved. And that if we ever get out there, which we will at some point, we'll live there forever. And we got to, as travelers, we both took contracts, and we realized, like, wow, like, while San Diego's awesome, it just wasn't the vibe. It wasn't the place that we wanted to live. And again, like, it's always beautiful. There's no seasons. I want to live in a place that has seasons.
And storms.
And storms. Like, I don't want it to be sunny and 75 every day. Like, screw that. Like, and so we realized this wasn't going to be our forever home. And I love that we had the opportunity to go and try that, because it's very different to take a contract, live there for 6 months, and then be like, that was awesome, but like, check the box.
Yeah.
Versus uprooting your entire life to move somewhere, and then you're like, no.
Right.
So I just think it's really cool that we get to have this experience. We're going to experience a winter, and I'm hoping we're going to come back after our Bali trip and be able to stay and experience the spring and the summer too.
Well, and I mean, another thing that I thought was even funnier, I feel like we've just been prepping for this, and now that we're talking about it, I mean, we literally had a Jeep, the Jeep blew up, and then we were like, well, we need to get a 4x4 for when we go to Colorado.
Yeah.
And so we just got our 4-wheel drive just in case for the next year or two when we end up in Colorado.
Yeah.
And then now we have the contract.
And right, and we have all of our winter clothes. Like we just hiked Everest, so we got these great Cotopaxi, like the warmest, best jackets we've ever had. We have our like I feel like we are ready. Like we are ready for winter. And honestly, I am excited. I know it's going to be different. I know it's going to be crazy. Like we've spent a winter in Wisconsin, which was insane.
But it was fun.
But it was freaking on. Like I loved it. It was different, right? Like we were kind of like, okay, I'm good with this. But we're talking about Colorado, and you always hear, people are like, yeah, you have storms and it snows, but it's sunny and it's beautiful. And like, I'm excited to actually see if that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, they just got through this crazy ass storm. They were under like a state of emergency, I think, or something. And it was early. I mean, it's freaking November and they've already had like a crazy storm. But I've been looking at the weather, and yes, they got through the storm, and now for the entire like 10 days that I could see on the forecast, it's sunny and in the 50s. And I'm like, this is amazing, So it'll be interesting to see. My only concern is like driving and things like that, but we'll see how it goes. But I'm just excited to go in with an open mind and an open heart and be like really excited to go on this new adventure. And we are finally making it to Colorado and like see what we think.
Cannot wait. There's so many things I want to do, like tubing and skiing
Maybe
and snowboarding and freaking going on snowshoe hikes and putting our crampons on and getting out there. And like, I don't know, there's just so many cool things to do.
Yeah.
And the food and the breweries and
And we found a great place on Furnish Finder. It's in Aurora, but it's like 20 minutes from Aaron's job. And it's month to month, so it's super easy, super flexible, furnished. All we have to do is show up. So like that was easy. That whole this whole transition has been so easy. Oh, and we always look for gyms, like what's around. They have a Legree studio, which that's what I was doing in West Virginia that I loved so much. And they're more rare, but they have Legree, they have a Barry's boot camp. Like they just have everything, and they have Sprouts and Whole Foods, like just everything that we love. I'm like, this is so exciting. So anyways, that is the full scoop, the full story, how it all happened, where we're headed. At the time of this recording, it's currently Tuesday, and we will be there Friday, right?
Yeah, well, it's our anniversary tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I have a plan.
And Aaron has a plan. I'm excited to come back on the pod and actually tell you what it is, because I have no idea. We're on a road trip. I have zero idea what he's planned for tomorrow. So I'm excited.
I'm pretty proud of myself because we have gotten away from really kind of doing cool things on our anniversary because our life is just too cool. And so we were like saying that we need to get back into that, really going after that day and making it a special day. And I was like, dude, we're going to be on the road. Like, what can we really do? And then an idea hit me like lightning. And now I planned it.
I'm really excited. And I think it's not about doing something cool. I think it's about
us
celebrating our relationship and always like making that day about that in our relationship and doing something together and doing something different and like just connecting with each other. I think that's more important than, it's not like, oh, like we gotta go somewhere. It's just about being together and doing something cool. So
14 years,
Bri. So I think we'll leave it there. Follow along on our story, our Instagram story at Kim and Aaron G, as we're kind of making our way. And we're still sharing Everest Base Camp vlogs. I know it's like, you're like, you guys haven't been there in a month.
No, but it's content that will be there and you'll get to see it all put together and it'll always stay. It's not in our story and I like it.
Honestly, I'm about to release 2 and I just watch them and cry because I'm like, it brings you back. And I'm like, I'm so happy we have this because they're so amazing and just it's taking me back to the trail and like one of the best trips of my life. So anywho, you can follow along with all the things there at Kim and Aaron G, and we will be back next week and we will be recording and talking, doing an update and talking about all the Colorado things because we'll officially be there. So
isn't next week Thanksgiving. It is.
Is it?
The next Thursday, because this will come out this Thursday. The next Thursday is Thanksgiving. I
Oh,
think.
dang. All right. Well, you'll have a Thanksgiving surprise from us. No, Thanksgiving's late. It's the last weekend. Yeah,
Wow, we got 2 weeks till Thanksgiving.
yeah.
Holy cow!
I know.
I don't start till after Thanksgiving.
I know.
Jeez, we're gonna have fun in Denver.
We got.
If you in Denver, reach out. We gonna have some fun.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to
I'm
have
gonna
that 2
paint the
weeks.
town for 2 weeks.
All right. Okay. Well, we will see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Or over on Instagram.
Yep.
All right.
Bye.
All right. What do I do?
Just hit.